On the record. This is the meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force Complaint Committee. The time is 6:52 p.m., November 1st, 2014. On the call of order, members noted present, David Pilpil, Mr. Wolf, and Vice Chair Hyland. Members noted absent, Member Todd David, and Member Winston. We do have a quorum today. Regarding item number 2, adoption of the committee minutes, may I have a motion to continue this to the call of the chair?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any public comment regarding this matter? There being no public comment, item number 2 regarding committee minutes are continued to the call of the chair. Without objection. Item number 3, file number 14098, complaint filed by Charles Grissom against Public Works for allegedly violating Administrative Code, Section 67.21 and 67.25 for failure to respond to requests for public records in a timely and complete manner.
Okay. Mr. Grisham, if you'd like to approach.
The motion is we do need to determine jurisdiction on this matter.
Okay. Does either party contest jurisdiction? Being no objections,
I would move that we recommend that we find jurisdiction. This is the first time we've gone through this complaint process.
Yes.
So I move that we recommend finding jurisdiction.
Okay. Second.
Is there any public comment regarding jurisdiction? There is no public comment. Determination of jurisdiction is approved without objection.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, how would you like to handle this complaint? Since we do have instructions to the Department of Public Works regarding the procedure. This is regarding a specific complaint. Would you like to provide any instructions or recommendations?
Why don't we hear from the complainant first, just to see where this fits in the scheme of things?
Very briefly.
Sorry, where are we now? I mean, what would you like to hear from me?
So, anything above and beyond what we've already heard tonight, with it, with the view of DPW, what they've already been directed to do, and how this particular complaint either fits within or is above and beyond that.
Well, sir, for one thing, I'm concerned that the way they're heading is a huge waste of city resources, and I want to either modify, if I have been unable to make myself clear in my many writings what it is I'm after, then I'd like to stop back. I mean, what they did deliver, the 3 of 544 they delivered to me were, except for proving that records do exist regarding claims at DPW, except for disproving his repeated false assertions, they had no value or meaning to me. A, they weren't in a construction site. They were just in the public right-of-way, broken sidewalk or something like that. It didn't have to do with the construction sites I'm concerned about.
Right.
And the claim, the specious, the outrageous claim that Mr. Frank W. Lee made that it took him and other staff over 1 day to produce those 3 zip files that contained 12 pages of document and some 29 JPEG images. That took them over a day. I don't believe that, okay. And so I don't want to enable
Mr. Grisham, let's just try and keep to the particulars.
Okay.
And so let's talk about this particular complaint, 14098, and tell us how this is. First of all, summarize this request.
Actually, if I may.
Go ahead, Member Popel.
So we don't have a lot of time because Member Wolf's got to go. Can you just help us understand, forget their motivations or all of that, forget what they've already done. What is it that you're looking for? Let's try to understand that here and see if we can give them some better direction for how to find it.
Well, it's right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
It's right there. I mean, and that was to take a cut at it. That was, in fact, that language 1, 2, and 3, 4 is actually taken.
Page 3, yeah. Sorry.
So really, the June 7th request, my initial request, that immediately has been pushed back on with non sequitur,
yes.
with red herring, 1, 2, 3, 4. With irrelevant information, and also handing me off to other, consistently trying to send me to the police, to the city attorney, to GSA, somewhere else. So What I'm asking you to find is that Frank W. Lee is willfully withholding these records. I've made it amply clear since early June what it is I'm looking for. In the spirit of the thing, if you're asking me about the spirit of the thing, I'm looking for records that DPW is paying any attention to accidents and injury in the public right-of-way, that it has given permits to private for-profit contractors and developers to take away our sidewalk and streets and bike lanes and without providing for safe passage of travel for pedestrians. I've documented this over and over again. Again, it's outside
Okay.
the scope.
So how is this different than 14067, your previous?
It's the same.
Okay.
This claim is just a build-up and a continuation of the first. I don't know why it was closed. It's just that he has continued, Frank W. Lee has continued to willfully withhold the record.
Okay, hold on one second. Why don't, and what I'm thinking out loud is maybe combining these two as one file, if that's something doable, and then,
Continuing to follow up as related to
as previously. Would that be an expeditious move? I mean, basically, you're asking for the same things in a different format, in a different case number. The end result, I think, is going to be the same. The ball's in their court.
There's nothing that's really different in this case from the one that we just discussed a few minutes ago. Is that correct?
There's nothing different in the way I'm being treated by Frank W. Lee.
But in the documents that you were seeking, is it the same
Those
set
four
of
categories.
Is it the same set of stuff that you were looking for in that matter and in this matter?
Well, that was written before I got the schedule of records retention. So
Okay.
going initially, before I just came up against the difficulty of getting him to obey the law. I was initially, after multiple.
Okay.
Let me ask it a different way. If, let's say we drop the first case, this case, the more recent one, is a better crystallization of what you're looking for. Would you be satisfied if you got this case resolved?
Well, yes, sir. And Chairman Highland, I've also made another request that has been unceremoniously denied by Frank W. Lee. It was an immediate disclosure request. It's been denied. No documents were produced. So I'd like that added to it as well. I'd like his pattern of behavior taken in the totality, because I think and the memoranda that have come out of the city attorney's office are very confusing.
Okay.
And
Let me just stop you there. There is a balancing here that we're going to have to employ. Like sometimes departments get hammered with IDRs left and right, and we have to look at the totality of that. So
I'm basically not comfortable going ahead with pursuing the records until I know the process is honorable and honest, thorough, integral.
we're working on that with them independently and directly. We're working on that.
I could work with the department, with you, or any combination thereof to refine this request. I've spent a lot of words on it. I think it's very clear what I'm after, but I could refine it. It's not blurry JPEGs of a broken sidewalk.
We'll get to that.
Got it.
I would suggest that in terms of efficiency here, that we either close this file or that you withdraw this, and that the substance of your concerns here and with your matter from last Friday, whenever that was, that's all going to get heard as part of the follow-up to the previous case. That's not going away. That file is still active. Almost regardless of the decision of the task force, it's still here. We're on it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And adding 5 more files doesn't help. And bringing this back to the full task force, frankly, also doesn't help.
And we have to hear things in sequential order by date. So the original one's going to take precedence for us. So we could either kill this one or tie it to this one. It's essentially the same from what I'm seeing. But you're just restating.
We would need your acquiescence to that, but I think we're going to get you all we can, and we think that's a better way to accomplish it.
And these 4 items are in your original June 7th request.
Those 4 are, but subsequent requests have been denied or obstructed.
And we'll deal with everything that's related. We'll deal with all of that.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so with your permission, I think we'd like to close this one and focus on the first one, which we have running already, and the ball's in their court.
Whatever you consider appropriate. I think you see what the problem
We do.
is from my perspective.
We do.
And what I'm going for is a determination of willful failure to obey.
We will certainly consider that too.
That's hanging out there. We're not there yet.
Have
Yeah.
been thrown out of office.
We're not there yet, but let's see how this plays out. Can I just ask you a follow-up? You suggested, both in this request and in a little of the dialogue earlier, that it was not just the actual claims for trip and fall or hazards or whatever, but it sounded like you were interested in the design considerations on projects. So if you're narrowing the sidewalk and adding more this and that, what are you doing for safety? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, sir. That is the nature of my inquiry, why I'm going
You
after
speak into the
data.
mic. Into the mic.
Can you pull the mic?
Yes, that's correct. That's the
Okay.
nature. That's why I'm going after the records to try to support my assertion with my photographs that I already have that DPW is not maintaining safe.
Okay, so this is
route of
helpful.
travel.
So this is helpful. So I think the going through 544 claims is not necessarily the best route, and I'd invite Mr. Lee, Mr. Spit, whoever's out there. I think what we're asking DPW to do, you can pursue whatever you want in terms of the existing claims, but I would ask that you deal with primarily BOE. What's the Edgar's thing? Infrastructure, whatever you're calling that? The TARA stuff. That the way projects are designed, whatever safety considerations and design standards for projects in the public right-of-way, whether it's a project that you're undertaking for DPW or whether you're doing it for PUC or MTA, all of these things in the public right-of-way that have safety implications, what those design standards are and how they're applied to specific projects. Those are the documents that I think would be helpful to Mr. Grisham.
Well,
can you do a pass on that approach? And does this help?
Honestly, it's all very helpful. That's
Okay.
what I'd wish the Board of Supervisors would ask for, but that's the...
Well, we're not them, but
I
at least...
understand, but
Okay.
currently
But-
those aren't the regular... I'm trying to do it in order, and the first thing I needed to do was establish that records do exist.
They
'cause it
do,
did
they
not-
do.
So now we've had that
But
established.
I'm trying to focus on this because I think that's different from someone tripped on a sidewalk because a tree root that was privately maintained wasn't being. That's a
is
different
different.
issue.
It
So
is.
am I clear with DPW, and does this help in refining the search? And can you guys, over the next 2 months, try to work through this approach a little differently?
If I might, to your suggestion, which is a good suggestion, but I'm not interested in their policies and procedures, how to provide for these. I have those documents. Those
Okay.
are publicly available. I'm interested in what did Director Nuru know about accidents happening in unsafe conditions that were not being correctly inspected by DPW that were in their jurisdiction. I want the emails. I want Director Nuru's emails on the subject. And I understand that if you ran a search for the word claim, that would be fine. But they've identified RA numbers, requests for actions, which is an internal DPW thing. And I've had that in my email as well. If you searched for the RA number, you would get the emails on that RA number. That would be very simple.
Okay.
These I'm willing to do.
So Mr. Lee and Mr. Spitz, I think that was now further refined to design standards that apply to projects in the public right-of-way, emails to and from Director Nuru related to safety and hazardous
Anybody in
condition.
DPW. I've asked-
Well, you were specific to Mr.
Grisham,
Nuru.
Hold on. Yep.
Those seem like things that you could look for and aren't a complete fishing expedition.
We may have given some of the documents related to design standards and how to keep the public safe to Mr. Grisham already.
Okay.
But what we will do is we will redo it and we will resubmit, if that's the case, maybe the documents related to how our engineers, how our inspectors deal with safety in the public right-of-way.
Thank you.
We can do that.
Thank you.
And then number two, regarding the claims item, we did, as you know, we did present the 544 claims list from last fiscal year to Mr. Grisham, and we did ask Mr. Grisham to identify or at least look at it and tell us which one of these claims he would be interested in so that we can concentrate and just find those that he wants. He replied he wanted them all, and that's where we are today, and that's why we're kind of stuck.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, what I'd like to do is that first piece, he volunteered to get the other information. Can we work that back into the previous case as part of that order?
My suggestion is just, we cannot take actions on a
On a closed.
on a
Continued.
file from a
Okay.
different case. So my suggestion is to
Keep
take the
this one-
instructions on this and refer this to the EOTC.
Okay, so keep this one alive with that proviso in it, and
Yes.
then let's tie these together when we next hear it.
Actually, I think with the agreement of the parties, we can probably just add that to the file on the other case the next time it comes up. I don't, even if we've left that matter, I think if the parties agree.
It's at the discretion of the complainant, if he
Yes.
wishes to withdraw this one.
So, Mr. Grisham, what we'd like to do is kill the second complaint, but include what they just promised to look for you in the first complaint, so that's all captured. That's our plan to keep it clean.
If that's what you recommend, frankly, I'm confused about what you're talking about, and I'm not interested in those design standards. I'm interested
Okay.
in the
Microphone,
emails,
please.
Director
Use
Nuru,
the-
everybody in
use the
DPW,
mic, use the
Rachel
mic.
Gordon, what did he say? What was their discussion?
Talking to the mic, okay.
And was Director Nuru telling him to block my request? That's what I'd really
My
like.
suggestion is just to refer the item.
Okay, let's just refer it. All right.
The motion is to refer item number 14098 to the Education Outreach and Training Committee to be heard alongside its companion measure, which is file number 14067. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any public comment concerning that referral? There is no public comment.
So let me understand, because this is the first time we're doing this. This will then not take a trip to the full task force?
No.
And instead will go back to EOT?
Correct.
And be linked with the other thing?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We haven't done this before, so I'm
Right.
also trying to...
So, can we take that without objection?
Yes.
And we're doing this without finding a violation?
Correct.
And we're giving direction to DPW on how to proceed in the
Yes.
next 2 months?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, this is good
Yeah.
stuff.
No. All right.
All right. Are you clear? No.
So,
I'm a little lost now. What would you like us to do?
so Mr. Clerk, if you can. So in addition to the other two, in addition to the original case where we had the directives we gave you, we're also asking you to find what you just said in number 1 about
Okay,
the design, all that stuff.
The design.
Yeah, add that component to it. That's what we're asking.
And what-
And we'll hear all of this together on November 12th, January 12th, 2015.
Okay, so we're
And-
still looking for the 544?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And emails to and from the director, construction management, and I would say street inspectors also within BSM. So you've got different people in different bureaus that would deal with street issues.
Okay.
Sounded like not design, but actual on the ground conditions.
And Mr. Clerk, you're going to give them a summary of all these.
Yes, I will review the audio and provide a summary.
Okay, thank you.
Please work in good faith and try to sort it out if you can,
All right.
This matter is referred to the EOTC committee.
without objection.
Mr. Clerk, given Mr. Wolf's impending departure,
I will do it quickly.
okay, go ahead.
File number 14091, complaint filed by Sean Carl Mooney against the Office of Assessor Recorder for allegedly violating Administrative Code, Section 67.21, for failure to respond to a request for public records in a timely and complete manner. Item number 5, file number 14092, complaint filed by Sean Carl Mooney against the Office of the Assessor Recorder in the Port of San Francisco for allegedly violating Administrative Code, Section 67.29, for failure to provide an index of record. Is there any dispute concerning jurisdiction on this matter? There is no dispute regarding jurisdiction. There is no public comment on this matter.
Motion to find jurisdiction?
So moved.
Or
That motion is
I'm moving
approved
it.
without objection. Just a brief summary. Mr. Mooney has requested ADA accommodations. He cannot attend the meeting. We agreed at the last meeting of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force that we would hear this matter without his presence. I would like to address item number 5 first, file number 14092, regarding the index of records. I believe, paraphrasing the responses of the parties, the Port of San Francisco does have an index of records. It was not posted at the administrator's website at the time of the request. However, that has now been done. The index of records was provided to Mr. Mooney from the Port's website at the time of the request. The assessor's office does not have an index of records at this time. They are working with the city attorney. I believe they can provide a quick update if you would like that.
Okay. Member Pilpel, are you pulling something up for us?
I'm looking to see if there is one or if it's just not up to date.
I did verify myself that the port's index of records is on the administrator's website at this time.
Pretty sure the assessor's on.
The assessor's index of record is not up. I think they are still reviewing it with the city attorney.
Okay.
My name is Eddie McCaffrey with the Office of the Assessor Recorder. I handle communications and policy for the office. This is the first time in front of you. I think in the past you've worked with Francis Wynn. He's no longer with the department. I handle all the Public Records Act requests for the office for the department. As discussed numerous times this evening, the city county of San Francisco through the city administrator's office, that's who handles the index of records. We do not have one currently up on the city administrator's website. We are working right now to get one and make it available on the city administrator's website. We also understand through multiple conversations with the city attorney and with their office, that was also stated this evening that the city administrator is going through and revising their own index of records and their policy. We are not waiting for them to do that. We are moving forward, and we hope to have something up fairly shortly. I would say in the next 3 to 6 months maximum, but we're working to have it done a lot sooner.
Thank you. Member Pilpel?
I didn't, on the correspondence, I didn't see your title. Do you?
Sure. Communications Director.
Okay. And you're relatively new?
I've been there for about 1.5 years now.
Okay.
Sure.
So you preceded Douglas, but...
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Are you the records management guy as well as the Sunshine person?
Currently, right now, I handle all Public Records Act requests that come into the office.
Okay.
I'm working with the administrative division
Okay.
on pulling that.
So are you the point person on making that
Yes.
happen? Okay. So the citywide records management group, you're the guy for that, and Ms. Lubomirsky knows that in the city administrator's office?
Yes.
Good. Okay. I don't know why it's not on the website. That, whatever. That's going to get fixed. And you're not looking to the big fix. You're trying to get on what your current schedule is, and then if you need to fix that, you'll fix that later. But just getting something up.
That is correct.
Okay. Good. So that's underway. And then as to the person's actual request here. You want to talk about that for a second? Did you provide Mr. Mooney with whatever you could on the China Basin madness?
Oh, so that's the separate item? Because these are two separate
Just to
items.
give a brief view on item number 50 on file number 14091. I believe that the assessor, the complainant requested a form 502. I do not believe that the form is being submitted by either party, either the port or the assessor's office. The assessor provided a substitute document which reflected all the information that would have been contained in a form 502. However, the complainant does not agree with that.
And what were they looking for? Just that document?
So happy to go into detail on the difference. I understand that we are short on time for a number of reasons this evening, but the 502P form is issued by the Board of Equalization. There is code 408, 408.6 that allows entities to provide that information in alternative forms, meaning that electronic or other documents. We get that information from the port through alternative forms. We don't get the actual 502P forms. Mr. Mooney is requesting those 502P forms for this particular parcel. We don't have that on file. We are working with him to provide him with the information that's available. I'd be happy to go in a little bit more detail on what we've provided him to date, if that's would be helpful to you all.
Is there? You sound like there's more information that you still can provide him. Or
I'm
have
sorry.
Have you provided everything that you have?
We have.
Okay.
We've provided a number of, we've answered a number of public records requests that he's submitted to us in the past, over the past 4 or 5 months, consistent with this, and then also for other parcels. We are giving him as much information that we are able to do.
And is there anything outstanding in your eyes?
So there is, and just to kind of go in a little bit greater detail on Mr. Mooney, In May of 2014, he asked for all of our 502P forms that we have in the office. In conversations with him over the coming months, we asked him, because we have so many records on file that would be related to this request, we asked him to shorten that to 26. He did. Then in conversations with him over the next 2 months, we asked him to limit it to 10 and prioritize his first 10, and we could go from there. So beginning in August, we answered his first request on that prioritization list. In September, we answered the second request. In October, we've answered 2 more of those on that priority list of 9, and we're continuing to go through that. I think in the beginning, starting in August, we've taken about 3 to 4 weeks to answer each one of these on the priority list. It just takes time for our office to compile the necessary data and vet it to make sure that none of it is, it needs
all
to be
subject to disclosure.
Exactly. So.
And you've been keeping the requester apprised of the time frame and all of that?
We have, just to kind of give you a background.
Yes is good. Yes is good.
Yes is great.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. So it's really that he wants information. It doesn't exist in the form that he asked for it. You're trying to provide it in an alternative manner. It's not that we don't collect possessory interest taxes from tenants at the Giants, whatever. We do, but we capture it in a different way. And you've got both big records and tiny records to support all that.
That is correct.
Pretty much, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And just figuring out how to find it and how to produce it and all of that within your web of whatever is not simple.
It is not simple. That is correct.
Okay. Do we want to hear from the port on their part of it?
Yes,
and
please.
then figure out what to do?
Thank you.
Good evening. Renee Dunn Martin. I'm the Public Relations Manager and the Custodian of Records for the Port. And in response to Mr. Mooney's complaint, the Port did provide the index of records to the City Administrator's Office. Somehow it was inadvertently omitted from the City Administrator's website. Once Mr. Mooney brought this to our attention, I did contact the City Administrator's Office, and they made the correction and posted the information within a couple of days. We also did respond to all of his requests for public records, including the Port's records retention and schedule. In regard to the information that the Port provides to the Assessor's Office, the Port does not provide a 502P form, but instead our Real Estate Division provides the Port's rent roll to the Assessor's Office to determine possessory interest taxes for the Port's tenants.
And if they need any further info, they ask you and you supply that, and it all works.
That's correct.
Can I ask, is there anything else that you believe Mr. Mooney was seeking that he's not happy with the Port? Because obviously he filed a complaint with us about you.
No, I don't believe so. I responded to all of his requests for public records, and I have not heard from him since then, so I assume that he received everything.
Member Wolf?
So if I understand this correctly, there's a document that the assessor has the information for, but the Port has the actual documents themselves, these P2 documents. Is that correct?
No, we do not. We provide a rent roll, which is a report of all of the Port's tenants in terms of if there's any changes, new tenants new tenants coming in, old tenants going out. It's a report that is generated, and the information goes to the assessor's office, and they extract what they need to determine what the possessory taxes are for the tenant.
I see. So there's like a whole large report, and then the assessor's office is pulling pieces of it out of the larger report.
Yes.
Like that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So part of what we're doing here, and Mr. Clerk, let me know if I'm on the right track here, and part of what we do in this task force is sometimes we'll hear people come up before us and explain, what they've done. Looks like the work's in progress, the public is getting what they needed. However, we have to lodge the fact that a sunshine violation took place. And so I'm kind of thinking about whether we would recommend that or not, because it sounds like both of you are saying that, yes, there is information, we're working to get it to him, but there's a timeliness issue that, unfortunately, we have to be consistent with other departments across the city. And especially when you mentioned that index of records did not make it in, but then later did, technically that might fall into that category. However, I'm encouraged that both sides are working diligently towards what's quite a copious information request from what I'm gathering. Member Pilpel.
I'm thinking the following. I think that there's probably a follow-up with the assessor's office on their index of records getting posted and on their correspondence with Mr. Mooney. I suspect that there is not a follow-up issue with the port because they're pretty much done with the thing for the moment, to the extent that when this comes back, if there's anything else that does implicate the port, we can always call them back. I don't know that that'll be necessary. On the question of a technical violation, I'm going to have to talk to Ms. Lubomirsky in the administrator's office. I'm at a loss for why a department isn't on there when the task force years ago certified that all the departments were done and the index had been created. How that happened, I don't know. And how the port was on and wasn't, and now that is again. Also, there are definitely some issues with the index of records. I will follow up on that, and I'm part of some discussions happening elsewhere on that. As to Mr. Mooney's request, however, it sounds like there's follow-up from the assessor. It doesn't sound like there's anything further from the port. I just wanted to clarify, if I may, with Ms. Dunmartin. The port has contracts with people. The port has tenants. The port has relationships, whatever you want to call them. The Giants and others are tenants, and in some cases there are competitive solicitation. There are all kinds of different ways that the port enters into relationships with entities. I'm sorry if I'm being a bit obtuse.
No.
So far, so good?
Yes.
Okay. Those entities that have leases or run restaurants or whatever the heck they're doing on port property, they may subcontract or have subtenants depending on the provisions in the master lease with the port, but you're generally not concerned with that so long as they're meeting their employment and payment and whatever other requirements. Who somebody brings out to the ballpark and what they're doing there is sort of their business so long as they're paying you the rent. Is that kind of how it works?
Yes, that's correct. So
Okay.
we have master lease agreements with tenants such as the Giants or Pier 39, Ferry Building, those larger ones. We do not have information or agreements with their subtenants.
Okay. And although the port is somewhat different from other city departments, that's not remarkably different from how other city departments would handle leases. They may have a lease for property, and what someone does within that lease is sort of up to them. And the information that you're providing to the assessor so that they can collect possessory interest taxes is whatever the assessor asks for in an appropriate format. You provide it to them. They assess the tax. They follow up if they have any questions for you or questions for the master tenant or the lessee. They figure that out, but they're in charge of the taxes. All you're doing is leasing property
That's
and hoping that the piers don't fall into the sea.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. So moving forward.
Both of these were, let me see. One was against the assessor and the other was against both. And they're both, this is complicated.
Both the index of record.
Right. I tend to think that because the first complaint is against the assessor for a specific records request, that we need to keep that one alive and hear follow-up, which it sounds like is in the works. And on the second one, we probably need to keep that one alive as relates to the index of records, as relates to the assessor recorder, and probably dismiss that portion as to the port.
Okay.
Does that?
And refer both these to
And refer them
to EOTC.
I guess.
Since we're invested in this already.
Yeah. And it sounds like this is just sort of a somewhat mechanical process that's already underway. There's no...
And I'd like to add, perhaps, to refer to EOTC with the option of, call the chair if both sides provide a letter and Mr. Mooney signs off on it, that he's got what he wants, to be closed.
The complainant is always allowed to withdraw their complaint.
I guess that's one way of handling it as well. Okay, got it. All right. Do we need a motion on that?
The motion is to refer these matters to the Education Outreach and Training Committee.
Well, let's be clear. I'll make the motion. It's to refer 091 to EOT. It's to refer 092 to EOT as to the assessor and to dismiss as to the port. Can we do that? I mean,
Yes. There's no problem with that.
Okay. And if we need the port for whatever reason later on, we'll call you back, but for the moment, you're good.
Okay.
Yes.
Second?
The motion is to refer the matter to EOTC on file number 14091. That item is only concerning the assessor recorder on file number 14092. It was regarding the assessor recorder and the Port of San Francisco. However, the Port of San Francisco shall be removed from that complaint at this time.
We're dismissing that
Yes.
portion of it.
Yes, that part is dismissed. I do not see any members of the public in the audience. Can that motion be?
Wait, why are we? I'm not sure that we're not prematurely dismissing the port from it, only because without Mooney here to verify that, we've sort of created this situation where if Mooney then comes back and says, well, no, my issue with the port wasn't actually raised in this meeting, then we've sort of...
Fair point.
Fair point, because it's just hearsay at this point that he hasn't responded to your supplied information. So I think...
Is the...
I have verified that the port's index of record is on the San Francisco Administrator's website.
Isn't happening.
That has
Right.
happened already.
Okay.
I have verified that myself.
So it's...
That was why I was suggesting to dismiss.
So it's fairly
because-
clear that the other documents...
Oh, it's number 5 that's for the port, and that's the one related to the index of records, and number 4 is the specific records themselves.
Right.
Yes. Concerning the records themselves, that was only filed against the assessor recorder.
Okay. In that case, I agree with what you were saying, Member Pipple.
And if Mr. Mooney comes in January and says, I'm still not getting what I wanted and it's all of their faults and they all blah, 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 I have no problem calling him back and saying, you know.
Yeah, I had the architecture of the complaints mixed up.
Because ultimately, I think this is really about the assessor's records and the port is only the middle person. But.
Well, as far as the index of records goes, yes.
Right. But in terms of the underlying records about the possessory interest stuff that the guy cares about.
I think we don't know yet.
Fair enough.
Okay. I believe there is no objection to refer this matter as amended to the Education Outreach and Training Committee meeting. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Item number 6, public comment. There are no members of the public in the room. Item number 7, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items.
Well, it was the first time and we tried it and we'll refine it in the future. It was a little
I
messy,
think it was
but we
good.
got
You
stuff
know,
done.
'cause
I
this way-
believe we need to discuss, our original thought was that we were referring everything to the full task force, but as evident from today's meeting, that is not always going to happen. We're referring it to other committees for due cause, so I believe that matter will need to be discussed eventually.
I mean, I think we're sort of trying something that with the consent of the parties, we can sort of, you know, develop or refine a process on the fly. If any of these had been substantive, I would have no problem sending them to the full task force.
Yeah, but at least this way we can kind of like just nip him in the bud and, you know.
Yes, they are not being closed, just being referred to other committees. However, these other committees will be acting in a way as a complaint committee, as they will need to refer the items to the full task force on their own.
And I think we'll definitely learn more in the future because one of these was essentially a duplicate of an existing complaint, and the other one, the complainant wasn't here. So I think that those two factors probably are a big influence.
Right, and if at the very least, we've at least dispensed with the jurisdiction issue so that when we hear them at full committee, we can save, 5 minutes on that, 10 minutes on that.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think the more that we can cluster things, if it's the same requester, try to get, I mean, these two could have been in the same file. Thank you all very much.
Next on the agenda is adjournment.
Without objection.
The meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Adjourned.
All right.